Have you ever heard the story of a king who willingly gave up his entire empire? Not for power, not for wealth, but to save the life of a single child? It sounds like something out of a fairy tale, but this is the incredible true story of King George Tupu V of Tonga, a monarch who faced an impossible choice that would redefine the meaning of kingship. Our story begins in the beautiful island nation of Tonga, the last remaining kingdom in the Pacific. For centuries, the Tupu dynasty had ruled with absolute authority. When King George Tupu V ascended to the throne in 2006, he inherited this immense power. He was a man of contrasts, educated at Sandhurst and Oxford, a fan of military-style uniforms and London taxis, yet deeply connected to the traditions of his people. But the winds of change were blown across the Pacific. The people of Tonga were yearning for democracy. They wanted a voice in their own government, a say in their own future. Pro-democracy movements grew stronger, and the political climate became increasingly tense. The king was at a crossroads. He held the power to suppress these movements, to cling to the absolute authority his ancestors had held for generations. But he saw something more important on the horizon. Just 2 months after his coronation, the tension erupted. Riots broke out in the capital, Nuku'alofa. Buildings were burned, businesses were destroyed, and the heart of the kingdom was engulfed in chaos. In the midst of this turmoil, a tragedy occurred that would shake the king to his core. A young child, an innocent life, was lost in the violence. This single death became a turning point. For King George Tupu V, it was a stark and devastating reminder of the human cost of political conflict. He could have responded with force, used his military to crush the dissent, and reassert his absolute control. Many rulers in his position would have, but the loss of that one child weighed heavily on his conscience. He realized that no amount of power, no crown, no empire, was worth the life of even one of his subjects, especially a child. In that moment of profound clarity, the king made a decision that would stun the world and forever alter the course of Tongan history. He chose a different path of peace, of sacrifice, of putting his people before his power. He met with the pro-democracy leaders, the very people who were challenging his authority. Instead of punishing them, he listened to them. He understood that the desire for democracy was not an attack on him personally, but a cry for a better future for all Tongans, for their children and their children's children. And so, he began a process that no one expected. Voluntarily, piece by piece, he started to dismantle the absolute monarchy that his family had built over centuries. He announced that he would relinquish the majority of his executive powers and pave the way for a more democratic government. He would transition from an absolute ruler to a constitutional monarch, a figurehead who reigns but does not rule. This was an unprecedented move. Think about it. How many leaders in history have willingly given up their power? It's a rare and remarkable act of statesmanship. The king essentially said, "My power is not as important as the safety and well-being of my people. The future of Tonga is not about my rule, but about their freedom." The road to democracy was not easy. There were constitutional reforms to draft, elections to organize, and a whole new system of government to build from the ground up. The king guided this process with a steady hand. He oversaw the creation of a new constitution where the majority of parliamentary seats would be elected by the people, not appointed by the nobility or the crown. In November 2010, Tonga held its first truly democratic elections. For the first time in their history, the people of Tonga chose their own leaders. The king formally opened the new parliament. His role forever changed. He had successfully guided his nation from an absolute monarchy to a constitutional democracy, all without further bloodshed. Why did he do it? In his own words, he explained that the monarch's role was to serve the country's long-term interests. He saw that democracy was the inevitable and right path for Tonga. He believed that the monarchy could only survive and remain relevant if it adapted to the will of the people. But at its heart, his decision was driven by a deep sense of responsibility, a paternal care for his nation, crystallized by the tragic loss of a child during the riots. That single life represented all the lives he was sworn to protect. He chose to save the future of all Tongan children by giving them a peaceful, stable, and democratic nation. King George Tupu V didn't get to see the full fruits of his reforms for long. He passed away in 2012, just a few years after setting his country on its new course. But his legacy is monumental. He is remembered not as the king who clung to power, but as the king who had the courage and wisdom to let it go. He is the king who lost his empire to save his people, proving that true leadership isn't about how much power you hold, but about how you use it to serve others. His story is a powerful lesson for all of us. It shows that true strength lies in compassion, that sacrifice can be a greater victory than conquest, and that the value of one human life can outweigh all the crowns and kingdoms in the world. The king of Tonga chose his people over his power, and in doing so, he secured a legacy of peace and a future of hope for his island nation. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories from history you might not have heard. Let us know in the comments, what do you think about King George Tupu V's incredible decision? We'll see you in the next video.